If you're ever in the market for a GoPro and it seems like you can get a really good deal on a silver or white version of a camera, don't buy it. Get the black version. The black version is just so much better, and usually it's not very much more expensive, even if you're getting a screaming deal on a silver or white. Um, but for those of us who are stuck with the silver or white, we don't have ProTune, which means we can't adjust our colors without post-processing. What this means effectively is that you're stuck with the high contrast versions that GoPro likes to put out. Now, this is a really popular look, and it really sharpens a lot of the colors and makes things stand out. So it's kind of a popular editing look, and it can look really good. But the problem is that it really crushes the highs and lows of an image. So if you have a lot of if you got an image that has, like, I'll just pull this one up. You got a lot of brights and you got a lot of darks. It crushes the whites and the darks, and so you lose a lot of the details in both areas. And so it's really usually desirable to get rid of that because you want those details. You want to be able to pull them out. And really, this contrast image, if you like it, you can, and you're going to be doing professional editing. It's not really hard to pull those out in a video editing or photo editing software. So if you were using a black camera, you have ProTune, and so you can actually do this before you record it. It makes it easy, so whatever output you want, you can get that. But if you are using a silver or white, you don't have that, which means you have to find another way to pull the colors out. So I'll just give you an example of the differences and why we want to do it. So this image is my kids swimming in the pool. You can see that it's kind of hard to see my son's face because it's really dark. Whereas if I took away that contrast, you can see how immediately it's the same video, but I have a lot more detail in his face because I can pull the shadows out. It's not so contrasty, and generally really like high contrast, but GoPro does it too much. So I'm just going to alternate between the two so you can kind of see the difference here. This one's got a lot more artificial processed look, which is again kind of popular, and I like to edit in that way sometimes, but when it's coming straight from the camera, there's a lot of times where it really doesn't look so well. So the colors look a little bit more sharp. They come out. It's kind of a personal preference thing, and this looks a little bit more washed out. But you get a lot more detail in the face and really in the shadows, and that's really something that you want, especially as a starting point. If you go through and post-process later using a program like DaVinci Resolve, the base colors allow you to really get more detail out of your edits. This is a really good example here. We've got some dolphins jumping in the background. My family is looking out the windows. It's dark inside the ship. It's bright outside. You really can't make any detail out here, and this is kind of a washed out mess. Whereas if I image it, all of a sudden you can see the horizon very clearly. You can see a lot of the details right through in here. It's not a huge difference. Well, it's a big difference if you're looking for it. If you're focusing out the window, you're not really going to notice it, but you can see all of a sudden the flowers and stuff on my daughter's dress is popping out, whereas you can't really see it at all here. So really a lot better image once you take out the GoPro's high contrast. It does make some things look better, like my son's shirt and necklace and this pull string. You can really see them a little bit more. Well, I say that. Um, I think it looks better here still too, but the last image I'll pull up is of my wife running into the waves. You can kind of see that the default camera, the GoPro's camera processing, it looks pretty good. Like you got a good contrast here. The enhancement kind of makes things look nice, but you can see it's taking out her face here. Whereas if I go here, the whole image looks a lot flatter, which in general, for this image, it kind of looks not quite as good in my opinion. But you do get more on her face, and really you can see it's pulling the shadows out. So instead of the crushing your contrast by going overboard with the processing, you can kind of see what's going on here. So it's a personal preference thing. One of the things video by video. So in this case, I actually do think that the GoPro standard makes for overall a little bit better image. Um, but if you're going through and going to be processing the videos anyway, or you don't like that high contrast image, you might want to be able to knock it down. So now that we've seen the differences between the two before and after, so before and after here, so this is before, this is after, before, after, before, and after. I'm going to show you how you can actually do that. So I use a program called VidCoder for my video encoding in general. Uh, VinCoder uses the Handbrake engine, so and both are free. Handbrake is the basis. And Handbrake works really good, and if you like Handbrake, use it. The reason I like VidCoder a little bit better is it adds a little options that the Handbrake doesn't have. So it really is doing the exact same thing that Handbrake would be doing. They just changed the user interface a little bit and gives you a little bit more options that otherwise you'd have to use text strings to edit in Handbrake. So I like VidCoder a little bit better. The downside is that VidCoder obviously follows Handbrake. So if you get a new update on Handbrake, it's going to be a bit while before VidCoder catches up. So what I do is I use my encoding settings. If I usually shoot in 4K, so you can see I've got a custom preset here that I made GoPro 4K compress. So I'm going to use H.264 because I don't have a processor that really does H.265 yet. The frame rate, unfortunately, my camera only shoots in 30, so there's no reason for me to do anything higher than that. Quality, this is a very personal thing. You've got to basically go through, the best way to do it is to spit through some videos at different qualities and see which one you can tolerate. Obviously, the higher quality, the more the output image is going to look or the output video is going to look the same as the input. If you go down lower on this, you're going to get images or videos that aren't going to look as good, but are going to be a lot smaller in file size. So I find 22 is about where it basically makes for no difference at all between, well, you can see right here, like the encoded images, there's no pixel differences. You can't really see any loss of quality here. And so that's really what I want. And it still does end up in a result file size that's lower than what I started with. So container MP4 is generally what you want to use because that's what YouTube likes. It's a great format. Of course, you're gonna you can mess with these settings. This is what I use. So target width, target height. I generally, I guess I don't have it here, but yeah, okay, scaling mode. I usually have it scale up and down to target. And that's one of the nice things about VidCoder is that if you want to upscale a video that's, like, for example, I record in 1080p for my desktop my gaming sessions because that's what my display is. But when I upload a 1080p video to YouTube, because of the terribly low bitrate, it makes for a video that looks like crap. And so what I'll actually do is I will upscale the video to 1440 prior to uploading to YouTube, because that way I get a better bitrate and the quality actually is more similar to what I see on my screen. So YouTube will still compress it a lot, but it won't look nearly as terrible if I load it as 1080p. Video filters, pretty much leave everything off or default, just have decomb here. Video editing, you saw all these right here, and then audio encoding I don't really mess with. So once you do that, all you've got to do is pull your, I'll just pull this up right here. You can drag and drop your videos that you want edited into here, and then hit your encode button, and it'll spit it out. I think this was 18 gigs of video, about I think 4 hours total time of footage, and it took about 4 hours to not 4 hours total time. It took 4 hours to encode. I don't remember how long the footage actually was, but and I've got mine set up so it just goes a -1 whenever. So it just adds a tac 1 to the video to indicate that, hey, this is the original and then this is the encoded. So right here, this is the one the video I was showing you my wife running in the water. Um, didn't cut off much of the size, but I did get that high contrast image out of the way. So overall, out of the vast majority of my videos, this taking out the high contrast GoPro processing makes for a better image in my opinion. So I just wanted to leave this video up for people that needed help getting rid of that high contrast video with cameras that don't have ProTune. If you have a black camera, it's not a problem because you can just go choose a flat profile in ProTune. But if you have a silver or white, you're not going to be able to get rid of this without encoding. Hope this helps.